President and CEO of the St. Louis branch of the Metropolitan St. Louis. He will serve as your master of ceremonies. He's a friend of mine. He's a champion of this region. We know him. We know the work that he has done to inspire the St. Louis metropolitan area. Now, last night at the Cardinals game, Cardinals won 2-0. Mark Morial threw out the opening pitch. He said that he was disappointed. He threw the pitch, it went over the plate, but he didn't throw a strike for the Urban League. So I asked, around the 7th inning, I asked Michael McMillan, what is this mystique about the Urban League? Why you? Why the Urban League? What's the point of it? He said that when he was 10 years old, his uncle, the first African-American police chief in the city, told them that when he was 16, he should join the Urban League. It's the organization that's doing the most work for our people. And that he should pay for it himself because it would mean more to him. On the 16th birthday, Michael did two things. He got his driver's license and his membership into the St. Louis Urban League. That was 30 years ago today. Michael has done huge work in collaboration and finding ways to inspire the community and make things happen. This dedication today is an indication of all of that. I'm proud of Michael. He's a friend of mine. He is a person that believes that service is a responsibility and a duty. He believes that being in service is his responsibility, his duty, and his great honor. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce to you Michael McMillan. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, good morning. And welcome to this historic occasion in the city of Ferguson. We are going to start off by having the color guard to please come, and then we will commence with our program. Thank you. You may all take your seats. So we are elated to have all of you here today for this historic moment for the Urban League, the Salvation Army, the Lutheran Church, and the University of Missouri Extension as we open our Ferguson Community Empowerment Center. I want to personally thank our board of directors, our staff, all of the National Urban League staff who are here for the conference, and our National Urban League trustees for the tremendous amount of work that it took to get us to this place today. I'd like to ask all of them to please stand so that we can recognize all of the board members of the National Urban League of Metropolitan St. Louis, led by Keith Williamson of Centene Corporation, and all of our sponsors and supporters. Thank you so much. Thank you for being with us. So obviously we have a full capacity this morning. And in the words of my late and dear friend, Ida Goodwin Woolfolk, who was very proud to talk about her Pentecostal heritage. And she said, well, I had to tell a number of people at church when we would have programs that we're happy to hear about what all Jesus did for you, but we don't need to hear it all tonight. So, with that being the case, I will remind all of our speakers to keep their remarks to the 2 to 3 minute window so that we can make sure we hear from everyone. Because there's a lot that we have to do today, but we want to do it in an expeditious manner. Because we want to cut the ribbon for this historic building that is 259 years in the making when you combine the time of service of the Salvation Army at 152 years and the Urban League at 107, co-owning a building for the first time in our collective history. So we are excited about that. And our other partners, but we would not have been able to do it without you. So I want to personally thank each and every one of you that worked so hard to get us to this point today for this historic occasion. The first gentleman that I would like to have to come up is Lieutenant Colonel Dan Jennings of the Midland Division of the Salvation Army, who when he came to St. Louis, he inherited a major project and collaboration in the form of this building that Lieutenant Colonel Richardson and I had worked on. And he said immediately, I want this to continue. I'm going to do any and everything that I can to make sure that this project happens, and we will see it through to completion, and we will serve tens of thousands of people in the St. Louis region for decades to come, and we are going to make this collaboration historic. So thank you, Colonel, for your hard work, dedication, and commitment to get us to this point.
Well, what a great day. Thank you for being here, and thank you for being a part of this. 3 years ago, when I first heard the word Ferguson, it was on TV. It amazed me that how quickly things could go out of control. And what was just a normal neighborhood in a normal city suddenly became a point of contention. It became a very negative word. People heard the word Ferguson and they thought negative things no matter where you came from. It just had a negative connotation. But it's amazing when you do something good how people can descend on this city and descend on this site for something positive. We are changing the tide today. What a great partnership to come together, and not just the 4 major partnerships, but there's lots of other partnerships that could happen. It was hard to imagine all the things that took place, even on this site, a place that was a business that was selling gas and convenience items that suddenly was up in flames. But today, this site has, I'm going to borrow your words, Mike, has like a phoenix risen from the ashes. And can you imagine that if this goes beyond just a photo opportunity, beyond just coming for a few moments to say we've done something here, we've built a building. The building is just the beginning of it, isn't it? Imagine if everyone here today decided they were going to do something to change the way we operate in this region, in this area, in this city, on this block. We have collectively enough power to accomplish amazing things when it is inspired by the Holy Spirit. I have 2 jobs as a Salvation Army officer, 2 jobs. One is to preach the gospel of Jesus Christ, not the whole thing at once, right? And number two, to meet human suffering in his name. What a great place for a demonstration project how a community can come together to meet human need in Christ's name. Well, I'm to introduce some people. You've been introduced to Mike already, and thank you for this great idea. Started as a wonderful idea. We were sort of late to the game to say, can we get in on this? We want to be partners. I want to introduce our new territorial leaders who are with us today, who thought this was important enough to come from Chicago to be with us. And anytime you get new leaders, you have to talk about the big projects that you're doing and find out if they believe in it. I want to tell you, I hardly got the word Ferguson out of my mouth, and they said, we believe in it. Make sure that this happens, and we want to be there. So would you welcome, they're going to stand in just a moment, Commissioners Brad and Heidi Bailey. Now, my job in all this, I think, is a little overstated. You need to know that that while this comes together and while I was the public face of the Salvation Army's part of starting this, I'm a little bit like the fullback. You'll forgive me for a football analogy, but what happens in football is that the rest of the team does all the work, and when you're 6 inches from the goal line, you bring in the fullback, right? Your job is just to push it over that last little bit. So that was my job, just to push the Salvation Army's part of this over that last little bit. But a lot of things had to happen before that moment. And I am very proud to introduce to you the Salvation Army officer who really is responsible for the Salvation Army's part in all this, Lieutenant Colonel Lanil Richardson. Would you please welcome him?
We need to start this by asking God to bless this place and all those hands that were involved in it. You know, the Salvation Army is not an army because we all wear uniform. We're an army because people of like minds and hearts, like Mike, come together and say we can make a difference, that we can move that ball forward in the name of Jesus Christ, in the name of our community. So will you join with me in this prayer? Father of this army of people gathered before you, Captain of these soldiers, may your glory fill this community and this entire earth with what takes place in this community. As this world grows colder, may your troops grow bolder. May we fight with only love. May the crosses we bear be the weapons of our warfare. May we even boldly dare for you and your name. Let our uniforms be holiness and mercy, justice clothed with truth and grace. Those who speak be fearless. Those who serve be blameless. May we dare to dream for you, for the visions for the old and the visions for the new and the youth. Save us when we look past Jesus as an outcast. Breathe into these dry bones. Search the spirit deepest groans inside of each one of us. And let us be determined not to go back, but to stand for you. Lord, may this place be a place where people know your love and your mercy. May this place be a place where people dare to dream dreams for their future. May those who sit before us and those who are in this community and represent these two great organizations even boldly dare to make the world a better place for you. For we ask these things in the name of your Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thank you, Colonel. So the Urban League movement has always benefited from a strong relationship, cooperation, and collaboration with our government partners. And we are proud today to have representation from our Congressman, William Lacy Clay, who is still in D.C. in legislative session, from our County Executive, Steve Stinger, and from Councilman Wesley Bell, whose district we are in here in the city of Ferguson, who was elected as part of the change of how the government of Ferguson is now more diverse and inclusive. I want to bring Tony up, and I want to thank him because Congressman Clay's office has always supported every single request that we have ever made of them, and we are truly appreciative of that partnership and that collaboration. And the Congressman is actually receiving our highest honor at the National Urban League Whitney M. Young Gala this Friday. So please welcome him as he comes on behalf of Congressman Lacy Clay.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
It is my pleasure to stand before you today to read this proclamation and to say to Mr. McMillan, the President, it only takes 2.5 minutes. Proclamation, Ferguson Community Empowerment Center Day, July 26, 2017. Whereas today we stand together to mark a remarkable historic occasion, the grand opening of the Ferguson Community Empowerment Center. And whereas this magnificent new center has taken the violence, the anger, the destruction that occurred here 3 years ago and transformed that tragedy into a beacon of hope for the people throughout the community. And whereas this new center will provide the opportunity for Ferguson residents to acquire new skills, build positive relationships with mentors, and create a pathway to a brighter future. And whereas the center is a wonderful example of the tremendous commitment made by the Urban League, the Salvation Army, to turn tragedy into triumph. And whereas the University of Missouri and the Lutheran Hope Center are also adding their considerable knowledge and expertise to uplift and help others at a critical moment for this opportunity, for this community. Whereas, included among the many exceptional services offered here are Save Our Sons, a workforce training program for young men, Pathway to Hope, a program to help families break free of poverty, and Readers to Leaders, an after-school tutoring program. Now, therefore, William Lacy Clay designates July 26, 2017 as Ferguson Community Empowerment Day. In the 1st Congressional District of Missouri, he urges all citizens to rise and applaud these exceptional organizations who are uplifting so many lives and transforming Ferguson's future in a powerful and positive ways. It bears the signature of William Lacy Clay, Member of Congress. Thank you for all that you did.
Michael, right here, please. 3, 2, 1. Got it. Thank you.
You guys just tilt this way, just turn this way.
Our next speaker is our County Executive, Steve Stinger. He has a very, very important role in this building. When we went to him and we asked for tax credits to be granted to this project, he immediately said, without reservation, absolutely, I will do everything that I can. And he put a $1 million infusion into this facility from the tax credit program. And this is a perfect example of a public-private partnership to serve the community. So we appreciate, thank you, and are looking forward to working together on many projects to come. Thank you, Steve.
Is that also your birthday today? Yes. Oh my goodness. Well, thank you all very much, and thank you, Michael. It's wonderful to be with you here today. This is obviously an enormous day for our community. It's also a somewhat big day for Michael. It's his birthday today. Happy birthday. And I knew you were a young man, but I did that basic math there. Yeah, you're a young man. My gosh, we've got many more years of service to our community from Michael, for sure. Well, thank you all for joining us this morning as we dedicate this just phenomenal facility, this beautiful facility. And what a truly remarkable transformation this facility represents. From a site that was symbolic of the unrest in our community, we now have a facility that represents true hope. At this center, residents will have access to employment assistance, training and placement programs, financial literacy and homeowner education, counseling programs, and a host of other services. We are proud, Michael, we are proud to have led that effort with respect to the tax credits, and I will tell you that anytime you come to my office and you need assistance, you have it. Thank you for all you do, Michael, thank you. I want to thank the groups that will provide services here. The Save Our Sons organization. What an incredible organization. That's right, that's right. The Salvation Army. Better Family Life. Provident Counseling, and of course the Lutheran Church Missouri Synod. Thank you so much. And I especially want to extend my appreciation to Mike McMillan and the leadership of the Urban League for their leadership, their support, and your groundbreaking. It's amazing. Thank you. Your groundbreaking work. For almost a century, the Urban League has advocated for jobs, educational opportunities, and civic engagement for African Americans. This league provides solutions for people in need. This building, along with our recently opened workforce centers in North St. Louis County, is a sign of our commitment to working to improve life in communities marked by high poverty and unemployment. Again, thank you all very much for joining us today. Michael, thank you so much for your hard work as we celebrate this amazing new facility and the bright future it represents for Ferguson and all of our region. Thank you. Michael, one more thing. I'm sorry. Hey, I almost forgot. I got caught up in the excitement. I also have a proclamation. And I will not read it. I will just tell you what it says at the bottom, which is, I think, the most important, that we do hereby proclaim July 26, 2017 as Ferguson Community Empowerment Center Day at the county level.
Thank you, County Executive. And now we want to hear from our Ferguson leader from this community, Wesley Bell, who, as I mentioned, was elected after the events of Ferguson in 2014, who is a law professor and a very, very active person in this community, providing leadership, hope, and vision. Councilman Bell.
Tell you what, this is very nice. This is beautiful, and I gotta start off by saying, man, Mike, you know how to throw a party. There ain't no party like a Urban League party, right? So, at any rate, you know, it's amazing to me 3 years ago that from this place. This place was a pile of debris, a pile of rubble, a pile of rocks. And what we see from these rocks is what we're here today to talk about. In Matthew 16:18, it reminds me that Jesus said, "Upon this rock I will build my church." And so this building, there's a lot of places that could have gone in this place. There could have been another business, there could have been another convenience store, but that wouldn't have been right. You know, this building has to mean something. It has to represent something. And so when we talk about metaphorically that church, we're talking about justice, right? Oh, feel free to interrupt me anytime. We're talking about equality. We're talking about opportunity. We're talking about empowerment. And that's so important. So when we look at the things that have sprung from these rocks, when we look at the emphasis on community policing, a community demanding that police officers be a part of the community. When we talk about fairness, look at what started with our courts. Now, starting in Ferguson, but now expanding not only throughout the region, throughout the state, now we're having discussions about court reform holistically across the country. And that started right here from these rocks. And so it's so important for us to recognize, that our mission is not done. Because from these rocks also what's important are the partnerships. When I look out in this crowd, Ella Jones, where are you, Ella? All right. My other Ward 3 councilman, Keith Carlstrom, Laverne Mitchum. When I look at Tommy Pearson and how he opened Greater St. Mark's to everyone. Rance Thomas and Dr. Rance Thomas and all the things that he's done. And as my good friend Professor Wilson always tells me, don't start naming names because you're going to forget someone. So I'll cut it now because we appreciate all of you. But from these rocks, we are building our church, and we will continue to build that church based on justice, equality, opportunity, and we're not going to stop. So I think what I was supposed to do was welcome you all here. So on behalf, so in a circuitous way, I did that. So on behalf of the city of Ferguson, I do want to welcome you all to the city of Ferguson, and I hope you stay a while, not just literally, but figuratively, because we have a whole lot more building to do. Thank you. Thank you, Urban League. Thank you, Mike McMillan.
Thank you. I would like to ask all of the elected officials who are here to please stand, and all of the representatives of our elected officials' offices, please stand and be acknowledged. One of the things that we are lucky to have at the Urban League is the hardest working person that I know, in the form of our national president, Mark Morial. He works tirelessly for the Urban League movement. If you send Mark an email at 1 a.m., you might get a response immediately, or 5 a.m., because he is working around the clock to make sure that the Urban League movement pays tribute to everything that we have done in the past, everything we need to do now, and everything that we will do in the future to be of assistance to this nation. He is the former mayor of New Orleans. Many people think that we are related. I would love to claim him as a member of the family, but I don't get the privilege of doing that. And he is the only person that I know that has his own cufflinks that I am proud to be wearing today. Because when I went to New York with Kitty Ratcliffe to woo the National Urban League to come here for this convention to make sure that we had a historic moment for St. Louis, I promised him, Mark, I'm going to wear these cufflinks every day if you come to St. Louis. So here we are. And here's the National Urban League movement, making a difference, coming into this city, starting off with this press conference for the National Urban League Convention right here in Ferguson at this time, in this moment, purposefully in this place. So Mark, we appreciate you, we love you, and we thank you for all your leadership.
Now, Michael, I was looking on Ancestry.com, and you just never know. But ladies and gentlemen, first of all, good morning. Let me say on behalf of the Urban League movement, who are descending on your beautiful community right now, 3,000 to 4,000 strong, we want to thank you for being the host of this, the 107th anniversary conference of the National Urban League. Before I share some information with you about the conference, let me offer my thanks to Michael McMillan. Michael became president of the St. Louis Urban League just as the Ferguson uprising began, just around the time of the death of Michael Brown.
And that's a daunting challenge, especially coming on the heels of a great legend like Jim Buford to take over this strong and resilient affiliate under those circumstances. Michael McMillan moved immediately with a vision that said, let us address many of the underlying challenges that this community faces with our Save Our Sons program. But he went further than that, and he did what great leaders always do. He decided to think big. And in thinking big, he thought big with partners and friends, not alone. That big vision, those partnerships are a reality today in the opening of this Community Empowerment Center. Now, there is so much more work left to be done, but we have come to St. Louis because we want to shine a light, a very bright light, on how many of you are working and have worked every day since 3 years ago to convert anger into action, to take the tragedy which occurred, and from that tragedy, try to shape a new beginning for this community. Many cities, big and small, across America, I hope take note. And we've come to put a spotlight on that. Not to say that all problems have been solved, that all work has been done, but to say this is a powerful first step by all of you all to address those challenges. So to Michael McMillan, the leadership team of the St. Louis Urban League, the elected officials, the community leaders, the business leaders, the faith leaders, the Salvation Army, and others, we want to give you a warm, strong round of applause. Thank you very, very much. Now let me just transition very quickly. We have a conference taking place. It opens this evening at Friendly Baptist Church. We've got a series of activities, and I won't go through all of them, except to encourage your attention to our conference website. What is absolutely clear is that 10 years ago, we were here in St. Louis with our annual conference. And at that point and at that time, that conference was easily one of the most successful conferences in Urban League history. I can report to you today that before we even opened registration for this year's conference, our registration numbers have already beat 10 years ago. This is going to be a record conference here in the great city of St. Louis. Let me introduce several people whose generosity and leadership have made this conference a possibility, and ask that they come and offer remarks. First, I am so proud that Michael Neidorff, Chairman and CEO of Centene Corporation and the Chairman of the Board of Trustees of the National Urban League, is with us. He's the co-chair of this conference. But it goes without saying that less than a week after the tragedy of Ferguson and the death of Michael Brown, Michael Neidorff called me with his vision. His vision is, I am thinking about how I can bring jobs to the city of Ferguson. And I want to do something quickly. Stand by, I've got an idea, and we're going to have a great announcement on that in several days. Now, at that time, many would have said, just wait. Many would have said, now's not the time. Many would have said that the circumstances were unstable. Michael Neidorff leaned in to the fire and to the wind, and today there are over 250 Centene employees working here in Ferguson. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm proud to present the Chairman of the Board of Trustees of the National Urban League and the co-chair of this convention, Michael Neidorff.
Thank you. I often wondered, how many people can you fit in a tent? This is far more expectations. Before I get into my formal remarks, I also want to comment that our co-chairman, David Stewart, who you'll hear from in a few minutes, is here. But I remember the Friday, I was driving out to see him on something. I walked in his office, said, on the way out here, I had an idea. I want to put something in Ferguson, Service Center. He said, great idea. That was on a Friday before a holiday weekend. And we announced it the following Tuesday. So he and the rest of the board instantly said, great idea. I want to thank you, Mark, for all that you're doing. And as chairman of the board of the National Urban League, the board and I would like to welcome you here today for the kickoff of the 2017 National Urban League Conference. This year, St. Louis will have the opportunity to show how we as a community have stepped up to the challenge of working to create positive social change. Since the ensuing unrest on 2014, our experiences, particularly in Ferguson, can serve as an example of the progress that can be made when business, community organizations, and elected officials work together for the transformation and betterment of the community. I have to tell you, when I was driving here today, up West Flores, I drove up and down. What a difference. You can see the vibrancy, the community coming to life. It's just incredible. As we continue to build out a model of positive social change, St. Louis has benefited from the constructive reflection and action. And although still leaving, there's much to be done. Also in a position to share and teach. It's what we hope to achieve the next few days. That is why we are particularly proud to host this National Urban League Conference. We head into the conference with economic indicators positive, but not for many of the minority and inner city urban citizens who are still left somewhat behind, and we must help in every way possible to catch up. American communities and cities continue to need bipartisan solutions to these issues and the emerging problems. As communities, these are our shared challenges and also shared opportunities, and we must look at it as opportunities. For over 100 years, the Urban League has been at the helm of social change with its focus on securing economic self-reliance, parity, and civil rights for African Americans in communities across the country. And I personally believe there is no organization better positioned to bridge the gap from where we are today to where we wish to be. The League recognizes its responsibility and its trusted resource that we have. The Urban League of Metropolitan St. Louis has played a pivotal role in facilitating this transformation. And I must tell you, Michael, when I became chairman of the National Board, it was with great pride that I sat there and I looked and they said, the #1 rated affiliate is St. Louis. So my hats off. Following the 2014 fatal shooting of Michael Brown and the ensuing protests, Ferguson became a national symbol of systemic racism and social injustice. Unfortunately, what happened in Ferguson could happen in any number of cities.
Yes, sir.
And my executive committee, we had a meeting a week after the Ferguson incident, and we identified this could happen in 150 cities in this country. And that's when Mark and I talked, and we all agreed, let's show the road to correcting it, that others may learn from our tragedy. While we recognize solutions to this system, unfortunately, it takes time, and time is not something we have a lot of. So we must work aggressively to fix it. The work of the Ferguson Commission, the Forward Ferguson through Ferguson, the many efforts of everybody, the other companies involved here, that some of whom are represented here today, and you'll hear from and see, made a difference. So in closing, because I could go on forever, because there's so much to be said about this, I want to thank everybody for their commitment. I want to thank all those that have allowed St. Louis and Ferguson to be a positive example for the world. And we're looking forward to sharing with you over the next 4 or 5 days what we're all about here in St. Louis. Thank you.
Thank you. Our chairman, Michael Neidorff. When we decided that we'd come back to St. Louis for 2017, Michael Neidorff said that one of his conditions was that his brother from another mother, David Stewart, would serve as the other co-chair of our conference. David Stewart is a history maker, and I've noted and watched and followed the growth and development of worldwide technology over the years. And I know he's proud, and the Urban League is proud, and St. Louis is proud that he leads the largest African-American owned business in the history of the Republic, worldwide technology. #1 on the Black Enterprise list, and also a special place in the heart of the Urban League. Ladies and gentlemen, the other co-chair of our conference this year, David Stewart.
You know, no one does anything alone. It takes this entire community for us to be where we are here today in this special, very special place. And there were people before us who we also need to honor as well. Jim Buford and your leadership and team and so forth, we're standing on the shoulders of this community. Thank you, Jim Buford, what you've done and continue to do in this community. I think of him and many others. I'm a representative of Save Our Sons. A little earlier than you, but at the same time, a result of the efforts of many leaders in this community many, many years ago when I first came to St. Louis. So Urban League is still not only relevant in the past, but also relevant for the future of our sons as well. So thank you, Michael McMillan, for your leadership and for your vision. My people perish for the lack of vision, and you surely have that vision as well. One of the things that people are paralyzed usually by when they have a tragedy, fear tends to seep in. And the Lord did not give us a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and a sound mind. And this is a result of the power and love of a sound mind that is represented in this very special place. I'm here really to recognize, those partners that, just stepped up so significantly to this conference. When we said that we wanted to sponsor this, and we said, meet us in St. Louis, the National took us very seriously. And so here we are. And Michael Neidorff asked me to co-sponsor with him to, I didn't know it was going to cost me so much money. He's still in my back pocket. But thanks to him and his leadership and his vision here for this conference this week, I want to thank him, Mark Mariel and Mike, thanking them all for, and the hundreds of people at Worldwide Technology and Centene who have worked tirelessly the last several months to put this conference on. You're going to have fun at this conference. I hope that you also take advantage of the many venues and alternative things that will be happening in our city as well. The beauty being one of the best in the world. Our art museums and zoos that are world class, #1 in the world. And my brothers and sisters, they're free. The Urban League, respectfully, is just a tremendous organization. We should be very proud here in St. Louis, but we should be very proud of what they're doing across this country. We will make a difference in inspiring that next generation and developing that next generation, because we have an obligation and a responsibility to do that. I will finally say to all of you, and St. Louis and those who are coming in from other parts of the country, please, as it says in the scriptures, let your light so shine before men so your Father in heaven will be glorified. Thank you very much for being here and for the opportunity to serve you in this very special way.
David Stewart, Michael Nightoff, another big hand, ladies and gentlemen. David, money well invested. Our conference is supported by a number of America's leading corporations who are great socially responsible companies. And at this time, let me introduce representatives of each to offer remarks. First, representing Enterprise Diverse and Cause Marketing, please welcome Lou Yarborough, Associate Vice President, Enterprise Diverse and Cause Marketing at Nationwide. Lou?
Well, thank you, and good morning. I am extremely thrilled to be here today representing Nationwide as a presenting sponsor of this year's conference. And on behalf of Nationwide and our CEO, Steve Rasmussen, I want to extend our thanks to Mark Marial and the National Urban League and Michael McMillan and the Urban League of St. Louis for their continued commitment to service and advocacy. And the service and advocacy is exactly aligned with the Nationwide brand promise that many of you have heard before, that Nationwide is on your side. And as a proud partner, a long-standing partner, we are founded on a similar values, as well as a mutual desire to have a positive impact with individuals, with families, and entire communities. And together, we're working to equip people for a better tomorrow, but we're doing it today. In fact, the economic empowerment is at the core of who we are as a company at Nationwide. And I don't know if many of you know, Nationwide was founded a little over 90 years ago, based on an entrepreneurial spirit which has guided us in becoming the nation's #1 small business insurer, as well as one of the top Fortune 100 companies for folks to work for. So I would encourage all of you to attend the conference and join us at the career fair so that you can learn a little bit more about what makes us Nationwide and why we're recognized as a great place to work. And with that, have a empowering and productive week. Thank you.
Nationwide is on your side. Thank you very much, Lou. Will James, who is a National Urban League trustee, is president of Toyota Motor Manufacturing in Kentucky, one of the largest automotive manufacturing plants anywhere in the United States. Toyota once again returns as a lead sponsor of our conference. Ladies and gentlemen, please recognize and greet Will James.
Good morning. What an amazing day. This is absolutely unbelievable, and really appreciate the opportunity to be here. As Mark mentioned, I am Will James, president of Toyota Motor Manufacturing Kentucky. It is Toyota's largest manufacturing plant in the world now, Mark. And we're pretty proud of that. But I bring you greetings from the thousands of Toyota employees across North America. We've been a supporter of the National Urban League now for 25 years, and I can't think of a more fitting opportunity to celebrate our 25th year anniversary than to be here and to be a part of such an historic day as today here in Ferguson. So I'd like to thank all of you that have been a part of making this happen, because this really is an amazing thing and something that we want to continue to be a strong supporter of. We've been a supporter of the Urban League for 25 years because our visions align. We believe deeply in setting up the opportunities for empowerment of others. We do that in two ways. One, obviously, we're an automobile manufacturing company. We call ourselves a mobility company. So we believe in providing the avenue for those that have jobs or those that have things to be able to go out in the community support to be able to get there. But our second area of support is in our funding and our participation in programs like this, our support for members of organizations like the Urban League. And Mark and Michael, I want to congratulate you for all of the great work that you're doing, and to let you know we've been around for 25. And I'd like to say we'll be around for 25 more. Thank you all so much.
Thank you, Will. UPS has been a supporter of the Urban League movement for over 40 years, and once again returns as a lead sponsor of our conference. Representing UPS today, I'm proud to introduce George Brooks, President, U.S. Operations, Engagement and Communications with UPS. Ladies and gentlemen, George Brooks.
Good morning. I'm honored to say that UPS has supported the Urban League for more than 55 years, providing nearly $22 million in support to the League's efforts to bring about parity and opportunity for our communities. UPS actively seeks our partnership with organizations like the National Urban League, whose vision complements our own company's values. Like the National Urban League, UPS continues to focus on creating a more inclusive culture, one that values diversity in all its forms. But I think we would all acknowledge the fact that there's a great deal of work still left to be done. At UPS, we recognize the enormous impact that small and minority-owned businesses have on our economy and the strength of our local communities. Through our support of the entrepreneurship centers, we help to build strong, sustainable, and successful minority businesses. And the results are impressive: wealth creation, job creation, and better economic health in minority and urban communities. For more than 40 years, UPS supported the League's youth development efforts through BEAT, and now, more recently, with young professionals. We all must work together to provide more opportunities for our youth to identify what it takes to be successful in an ever-changing landscape and provide real-life experiences that resonate with young leaders. Thank you. When we empower others to create opportunities for economic prosperity, we open doors for all people to thrive. As a company whose founder advocated for service to community and opened doors to economic opportunities for all people, UPS is very proud to support this conference and the overall mission of the National Urban League. Thank you very much.
Please join me in giving all our sponsors another big round of applause. Our co-chairs, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. And again, I look forward to seeing all of you at the America Center sometime during this week for National Urban League Conference activities. Turn it back to my brother, Michael McMillan.
So I see so many people fanning themselves, and I've used this handkerchief so much that the new name here is the Ferguson Missionary Baptist Church, right here on West Florissant. Co-pastored by the Salvation Army and the Urban League, along with the Lutheran Church and the University of Missouri. So, Mark and all of our sponsors, thank you. This conference would not be what it is today without your help. As you heard me talk earlier, this is a historic moment, and we are truly grateful to the Salvation Army for everything that they have done. And I would like to ask Commissioner F. Bradford Bailey to please come as national leadership here to show the significance that this project has to the Salvation Army's movement across the globe. Please welcome him.
Thank you.
So we're having church. You need a pastor? I volunteer. Here you go. The Salvation Army is truly honored to be a partner with the citizens of Ferguson, first and foremost. Yep, you can clap about that. That's right. The Urban League of Metropolitan St. Louis, the Lutheran Hope Center, and the University of Missouri's Extension in this combined effort to double the size of the newly planned Community Empowerment Center Ferguson, which will provide, as you have already heard, all kinds of opportunities to achieve a full expression of ongoing personal and community development by helping families overcome challenges like chronic unemployment, unstable housing, a lack of education, through after-school tutoring, emotional and spiritual support, and a literal pathway of hope to walk alongside families intending to break free from the cycles of crisis and vulnerability. I truly mean this when I say this. Friends of the Urban League of Metropolitan St. Louis, thank you for trusting us to partner with you and to focus on providing out-of-the-box opportunities for citizens of Ferguson, to encourage big dreams and the possibility of reaching out to achieve full potential on the journey of self-sufficiency. Together, we are responding to racial inequality and human distress experienced not only in Ferguson, but across our nation. The center is a gathering place dedicated to listen to people, where we can learn and act together in a Ferguson type of new way, the St. Louis region and in our nation. I would like to publicly acknowledge our local Salvation Army partners who have already mentioned as advisory board members, officers, soldiers, employees, and associates who have partnered with you and with us in this process. You've already heard Lieutenant Colonel Neal and his wife Patty Richardson's involvement, and Lieutenant Colonels Dan and Doreen Jennings' current involvement as well with you, Mike, and the Urban League. We've come together today because we share a covenant to do what God wants us to do, and to be what God wants us to be, as well as a divine sense of mission and desire to be engaged right at the heart of life-transforming mission on behalf of others. That is what we celebrate today. Martin Luther King Jr., a young man at the time, shared this dream of a better world on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial. His well-known I Have a Dream speech is only one of many places where he laid out the philosophy of justice and nonviolence that not only changed the world forever, but still remains our best hope for a more just, compassionate, and peaceful world. He was a man who refused to accept the notion of allowing this world and all of its disassociated concepts of virtue, justice, morality, fairness, and respect to mold him into something that God did not make him for, which was to be a living, breathing proponent of all that is good in the human soul, and to challenge all that goes wrong when humanity decides to follow his own desires. It's been said that when we humans fell from grace, we inherited not only a tendency to hide from God, but a tendency to hide from each other. Unfortunately, we've learned to be suspicious of one another's motives, which effectively insulates us from each other and prevents us from experiencing true unity and an effective and a vibrant sense of community. Jesus' desire was always that we would be one, as he was one and is one with the Father. We believe deeply about this. We all long to be close, to be a part of the same family, and this center will allow that to be so. Today we celebrate God's leading by gathering as one in the middle of this city of Ferguson, which we consider today holy ground. We thank God for giving us the privilege to actively participate in community. We really do. To bridge the gap between men and women and boys and girls isolated, vulnerable, and disenfranchised by circumstances and conditions. This scripture has already been quoted, but it deserves to be quoted once again. We want to serve others. That's our motto. Let their light shine before men that they may see their good works and glorify his name, which is what we're doing today. Our hearts are stirred. We want to be a visible Salvation Army by living like Christ in all that we do and say. So partners, community, citizens of Ferguson, thank you for the honor that you have given us to come alongside and not only just be partners with you, but to actually be family together. And in doing so, honoring the name of our Lord Jesus Christ. Thank you very much.
So this building, as I've said before, is dedicated not only for the present but the future. And I want to remind us all of our futures because we have our Head Start youth with us today. And they are going to sing, "We Are the World. We are the children." We are proud of our Head Start program where we serve 672 young people between 6 weeks and 5 years old. And that the Head Start program was created by Whitney Young and Lyndon Johnson. They are about to give their Grammy-winning recording once again. Please give them a big round of applause.
Are you ready to do your best, Head Start? Yeah! All right, on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. We are the world. We are the children. We are the ones made glad. So let's start giving. And let's start to make it. We're saving our whole lives. It's true. We
So as you know, a project like this would not have been possible without the support of the corporate community. The Urban League has been very blessed to have corporate support from this entire region. And one of our strongest supporters since we were created has been Emerson Corporation. Emerson has played a vital role in the success of the Urban League. It always has, it does now, and will continue to do so. And when the crisis in Ferguson happened, the chairman, president, and CEO, David Farr, personally got on the phone with every major retailer in Ferguson and assured them that we would be better tomorrow than what they saw today. And he personally hosted the meeting with the CEO of Quick Trip and Michael Johnson from the board of directors that I had been talking to since the day after this building burned. And we actually closed the deal where Quick Trip contributed this site, remediated the property, removed the tanks, tore down the facility, spent over $1 million. But part of the reason why they did that is because they had the assurance from David Farr personally, as he hosted that meeting in his office down the street at Emerson, that this was not going to end in a bad way, that we would come out of this better. So please welcome David Farr as he comes on behalf of Emerson Corporation.
Thank you, Mike. Following little kids, that's a low blow, Mike. That's a low blow. Those are tough. Those kids are sing. It's really a pleasure to join you. The Urban League of Metropolitan St. Louis and our visitors from the National Urban League, it's a great honor to be here and supporting this great community. Salvation Army, thank you very much for all your support. It's great to see investment going back into Ferguson. Back into Ferguson in our North St. Louis community. Ferguson has been Emerson's home for over 70 years. We chose to move to Ferguson long before this road was built. We chose to stay right here. And we committed to this community over the years in many, many ways. It is our home, and I spend more time in Ferguson, Missouri than anywhere else in the world. That's why today's opening of the Urban League's Ferguson Community Empowerment Center is so special to me and to the employees of Emerson. Since 2014, and the sad day that we all experienced, Emerson has committed and donated over $15 million to this community. More than 80 organizations and initiatives to supporting Ferguson in the North County. It's part of our family. It's part of our core beliefs. It is a core community in North St. Louis that must recover and be the best of the best. Included was money for this building and for the Urban League Save Our Sons program, which will now be headquartered right here. A great program. We believe in hope and opportunity and a better life. And we want to support the people in this community in rebuilding and developing a stronger and safer community for all of the people of this community. With the support of the Urban League of Metropolitan St. Louis and its partners, who drove the plans to make this community center happen today, I played a very small part in my tiny office down the street about nine irons away. I'm absolutely convinced that we continue to work together to make that happen. To help the boys and the girls, the men and the women here in this community be successful in business, learning, family, and life. This will not happen quickly without hard work by all of us. But it's critical to rebuild this community we call home, we call Ferguson. That's the spirit, the empowerment of our communities to be strong and healthy for all of us into the future. That is good for all of us in the prosperity of St. Louis. I want to congratulate the president and CEO, Mike McMillan, and the staff and volunteers of the Urban League of St. Louis for the great work they do for our community and for this city. Today's opening of the Ferguson Community Empowerment Center is certainly a lasting tribute to their accomplishments and our future, but it's only the beginning. And in closing, I urge all of you to take a hard look at the commitments you are making to build on the great vision of this great center that will offer to the people of this community. We will raise families, we will prosper, and we will recover to be a vibrant community. We have much more that needs to be done in the coming days and months and years. Please stay engaged, all of you. I will, because I live half a mile down the road. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Our next speaker is someone who literally called me the very next day after the events in Ferguson began. Is the chairman, president, and CEO of Ameren Corporation, Warner Baxter. And he immediately said, Mike, how can Ameren help? What can we do? How can we be a part of the solution? I talked to Brian Leonard, I talked to Richard Mark and Michael Main and their whole staff, and they have always wanted to be part of making things better. This year alone, Ameren contributed over $250,000 to the Urban League of Metropolitan St. Louis. So, Warner, we thank you for your vision, your dedication, and your willingness to help this agency move forward and this community.
Well, good morning. You know, I just want to begin by expressing appreciation. You know, appreciation for this man right here. You know, as was stated before, you know, he is following in the footsteps of a great leader, which is always a challenge in the first place. But he came in at a time that was just incredibly difficult. And instead of cowering and being fearful, he chose to lead from the front. He chose to lead from the front. And he chose to be a visionary. A visionary. Because I remember the day when I called him and he said, let me give some thought in terms of how you can help. And it wasn't long thereafter. He came into my office and said, I have a dream, right? I have a vision. Empowerment Center. Think about those words. Those are powerful words. Because he wants to empower all those young men over there and their families. And he said, we're going to get together as a community and take what was rubble and we're going to build something special. And he absolutely did that. Not just him, but everyone here. And so I think we owe a great round of applause to Michael McMillan right now. Of course, I'm very grateful for this recognition, but you know, this isn't about Ameren and the recognition or frankly the sponsors. I'm sure we'd all say the same thing. No, today is about looking around and see how this community has come together in a way that we would have never envisioned just a few short years ago. It's about how this community has embraced diversity and inclusion. Do we have more work? Of course. But do we embrace it? Absolutely. Did this community decide to come together and make a difference in the lives of families, to change the course, the direction of so many young ones that we just saw here a moment ago, up to the older ones to really make a difference? That's what this community is about. So being part of the community, my company, having the great privilege and frankly blessing to do what I do, to lead a company that's been part of this community for over 100 years with dedicated coworkers. I can say today I stand thinking about an even greater blessing is the fact that I've been part of this community my entire life. I grew up not too far from here. I went to Rittner High School. I played grade school ball right down here in this area, high school ball right down here in this area. I went to University of Missouri, St. Louis, and this isn't about me, it's about how this community, time and time again, stands up, puts their shoulder together to do something special. That's what you've all done here today. It's just an honor to be part of it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Warner. Our next speaker is Frankie Eichenberg, and she represents U.S. Bank, and I had to call her as well. And it went something like, Frankie, do you have an extra $2 million sitting around the bank that you don't know what to do with? And U.S. Bank bought the tax credits here and contributed to the building and continues to work with us on so many different levels, and we are truly grateful for that relationship. Please welcome Frankie Eichenberg.
Well, good morning, everybody. I've noticed something that might work to help us. Everybody take out your program and just fan all at the same time, and we're going to start the biggest tunnel and it's going to cool us down. But thank you, everyone. It's a privilege to be here today. When I woke up this morning, and I always do my morning prayers, I'm like, Frankie, this is one of the most special days you'll ever be a part of. And I would tell you, it is a day that started a long time ago in this journey. And 3 years ago, I showed up here when the Quick Trip was burned and saw it. And I got out my phone this morning as I said my prayers, and I said, you know what? What an amazing community we are a part of. What an amazing community that from that was able to bring it to this today. I today represent U.S. Bank. Years ago, back in 1965, I was a Head Start kid. Now they never let us sing that song, We Are the World. I mean, now I'm sitting there going, oh, we missed out. But I'm so proud to be a member of the Urban League Board, also a member of the Urban League Executive Committee. And of course, one of my most important assignments is working with the 4,200 U.S. Bank employees in this market. The difference at U.S. Bank, and those of you that are customers, those of you that are shareholders, those of you that see our signs and see our people in the community every day, we care about you. We care about the community. We care about being a great corporate partner. Of course, I don't get to be in charge of $2 million. You know, sometimes I think my limit might only be $10,000 or something. But there are people within U.S. Bank that absolutely contributed. And I'm so proud today to be here, to be a part of this celebration. And of course, they gave me real talking points that I didn't pay any attention to. But as I said in my prayers this morning, this quote came to my head, and I don't know, Mr. Buford, if you told me this, because he's one of my greatest mentors, so anything I say or do, you know, he'll sit there and go, now, Frankie, I don't know if you need to say or do this. But the quote that came to me today as I thought about my comments is, all that is necessary for evil to triumph is for good men to do nothing. And when you leave today, here's what I want you to think about. We all have sponsors. I'm proud of all the Urban League people that are here. I'm proud of everybody that's done something to make today possible. But you have to leave today and say to yourself, what can I do to help? What can I personally do with where I work, with the community that I'm in, with the friends that I have, with the great advantages that many of us have? What can we do to help? And I want you to leave with that thought. And if I was a politician, I'd make you repeat it over and over. But please do everything you can to make the center successful and to bring opportunity to this community. So thank you, everybody.
So we do have some sponsors for today's program as well. I want to acknowledge Monsanto Corporation. Please give them a round of applause. Reliance Bank. Starbucks is the official coffee of today's program. And have a nice cold Coke from Atlanta, Georgia, as we have Coke as the official beverage of today, along with Macy's, who is here represented by Chuck Miller. So thank all of our sponsors for today's program and all of our supporters. So one of the problems that we have had in St. Louis for those of us who are natives is we know that all the time when we talk about construction, economic parity, trying to make sure that everybody has a seat at the table, that we are constantly engulfed in a battle about minority participation in construction. And St. Louis has lagged behind the nation. So when we built this building, we said this is the first time in 99 years that we have ever built a building from the ground up. So we are not going to make the mistake that other people have made. We are going to be purposeful about intentionally using this facility as a showcase of what African American owned businesses can do and how we can work together and make a better society. So this building is a testimony to that. Now, many people are standing right now. And so this is going to be your teachable moment if you did not RSVP to this program. because last week we were at 150 RSVPs and there are probably about 400 people in this tent. Those of you who are not from here, that's a St. Louis thing. We just show up. Yeah, so we don't RSVP, we just come and want to be at the head table. Yeah, afterwards. So what I would like to ask our friends in the media to do and our friends here is to clear a path for a historic moment. Because I am going to ask all of our contractors that built this building to come up and the workers on this building, because we made a pledge that we wanted 100% minority participation if we could get it. There are still, unfortunately, in 2017, some industries where there are no black-owned companies, elevator companies, asphalt companies, etc. But we have over 75% African-American companies built this building.
Me on that coach shot, so hold it right up when you talk.
Kwame Building Group, Sims Building Group, Atelier 3 Design, David Mason and Associates, ACA Grounds Management, Carr Flooring, Lou Brock Mechanical, Nuco Materials, RBC, Shahid Painting, which 45 years ago to this very day got their start from the Urban League being in the Painters Union as a multi-generational business. TD4 Electric, Trinity Masonry, Unified Contracting, and Web Engineering Services. Give them all a round of applause and thanks on this facility. Because this building stands as a testimony to, if we are given a chance, this is what we can do. You have a building that is on time and on budget and had a 75% African American workforce, and we are proud of that. And you will see when you go in the building today what a quality product that it is. So we thank all of our contractors for working so hard to make sure that we have this facility that is everything that we hoped it would be. Give them one more round of applause. Thank you. Amen. Now, you have heard a lot about the Save Our Sons program, and many of the companies that are here today made that a reality. We are grateful for the fact that we have graduated over 400 men from this program, with over 90% that now have jobs. That is a totally privately funded program. So I want to ask one of our graduates, Will Dunlow, to please come up and give his testimony. Because Will came to the program, did not have a job, was going through a number of problems, didn't even have daycare for his son as a single father. But he brought his son to work every day, and he caught the bus for a whole month, was on time, stayed all day, and volunteered after the fact. And after he graduated, he is now in the union, and he worked for RVC on this building in his new job, making over $20 an hour. So we are excited about him, what he has done and what he will do. Will Dunlow.
Give yourselves all a round of applause and thank you for coming out today. To whom much is given, much is required. So I am very humble and grateful to stand before all of you people today. But before I say a word, I would like to thank my SOS brothers Give them a hand for all their hard work and dedication. You wouldn't be sitting in a chair today if they didn't set up these chairs and help with all the hard work behind the scenes, so I want to thank them first and foremost. I'd like to thank God, and I also like to thank a personal mentor of mine, Bishop Calvin Scott, Believers Temple Word Fellowship, Faces by Scotty and Scott Manor. I want to thank this man because he gave me the opportunity to serve. He taught me how to serve and be humble. So that's what I did. I brought what I learned in church to corporate world and also to the Urban League. They say a man's gift make room for him and lead him before great men and women. My gift is I serve. There is nothing more other than that. I like to thank all of the grassroots people, all of the marching, all the spiritual energy that went into affecting change into Ferguson. Your energy did not go in vain, because we are here today celebrating the Empowerment Center. I am a byproduct of what you can do when you come to the Urban League, submit yourself under leadership, and really want change. I believe God judges the heart of men and what their true intentions are. So I thank Mr. Mike McMillan for the opportunity to take advantage of the Save Our Sons program. I thank him for being a mentor, and also Mr. Jamie Dennis for his hard work and dedication to the program. I would like to leave you all with this. God gave me something to put on my heart to build the bridge gap of communication from the old to the young. Time waits for no man. Speak every verse from the soul. Coca classic, statistical bastards. Evolution of the mind made me break the curse. Shoot from the hip, hit your spine, watch my mind work. It's a shame while we crying low down in the dirt. Who can we blame? Untamed, reading your heart hurts. Love, respected, fit and approved. Calculated moves, paid my dues. You can't fill God's shoes. The fire never scorched my skin. Built to last, we're all born to win. Planted seeds, I'm just waiting on the rain. Your soul sleep on these labor pains. Words to eat, cover your plate like soup. Racial profiling, wanna let the dogs loose. Eternally, I live my life through this music with casualty. The world is taken by force. Decisions I made won't leave me a choice. They say it's joy in the morning. Lend your ear to his voice. Save your sons, of course.
Thank you, Will. And so as we talk about Save Our Sons, we have two special presentations that we are about to have this morning. And I will tell you about our relationship with AT&T. John Sondag is on our board of directors, and when we first came up with the concept and we came up with a budget and a 2-year plan, we said, John, we are short $400,000 to make this program a reality. And John said, I'm gonna get to work on that. And so he talked to the National AT&T Foundation, and he came back and he said, Mike, I have your $400,000. So Save Our Sons can become a reality for years to come. Because we don't want to just get in and make a splash and leave. We want to stay there for the long haul, because that's what the Urban League does. So I want to welcome John Sondag, president of AT&T Missouri.
Well, thank you, Michael, and good morning, everyone. Thanks for being here. I know David Farr mentioned something earlier, a little difficult to follow the kids. After Will's remarks, I think I would trade them right now. So this is going to be top. Will, outstanding job. You know, AT&T has always been very committed to being involved in serving and giving back to communities where we work, live, and serve. And, you know, we, as you, are very excited to be here today and be part of this opening of the Ferguson Community Empowerment Center. And to announce, Michael mentioned kind of the history of our involvement with that $400,000 contribution to kick this off. I also am here today to announce that we are making another $200,000 contribution. And as Michael said, that's really to make sure that this program continues to derive the benefits that we've seen over the first 2 years. I would like to recognize and thank one of my colleagues here, Charlene Lake. Charlene, if you could just kind of wave. Charlene, besides being one of our senior vice presidents in Dallas, she, amongst her many responsibilities, she also heads up the AT&T Foundation. So she also serves as the secretary of the National Urban League Board of Trustees. So she's very committed personally. But as Michael mentioned, when this opportunity came up and I talked to Charlene, I have to thank her and give her a lot of credit for making this contribution as well as the additional $200,000 very much a reality. So thank you, Charlene, for being here. You know, I think, and I'm going to cut this short because I see a lot of fanning, but I got to tell you, after, you know, I mean, you heard Will's remarks, and Will and the other SOS folks that are going through the program. You know, that's what it's all about. It's all about trying to give young men an opportunity to get the skills they need, the soft and hard skills, to give them the confidence, to give them the resume builder, to allow them the network, and so that they can go out and get outstanding jobs and become very productive members of our community, as Will had. And I'm very proud and had a chance to talk to him beforehand. So, you know, that's really, making those kind of investments is really what it's all about. We're really here to help things, the communities get stronger, safer, and more economically viable. So, all of AT&T, we're very proud to be part of the Urban League. I personally am very proud to have the honor to serve with Michael and the other board members here in St. Louis. And we are very, very proud and very, very appreciative of the opportunity to help the Save Our Sons program to continue. Thank you.
Thank you, John. And that is precisely why I enjoy paying my AT&T home phone, cell phone, cable, and internet. Along with, no matter how much the air conditioner is on in this 108-degree weather in St. Louis, I enjoy paying my electric bill to Ameren. So thank you, Warner. And I've been a client of U.S. Bank since I was 13 years old, on the board of Reliance Bank and Regions Bank, and having Emerson TV at home. So this is just a wonderful day for me. So, so our next speaker is Kathy Osborne, who is also on the board of directors of the Urban League. When the Ferguson crisis arose, she and I were talking every single day. She is the mastermind behind the North County Fund that raised $1 million to give grants to businesses and school districts, and she has played a pivotal role in the recovery in the past 3 years. Kathy Osborne.
Well, good afternoon, President Morial, Chairman Neidorff. We're honored to have the National Urban League Conference in St. Louis, but of course it's not your first time here. You've been here on many occasions. So having this conference here isn't like just another conference. It's like saying, our friends, please come in. So thank you for your inspiration. Esteemed guests, on behalf of the 100 CEO members of the Regional Business Council, I want to add our support to the Empowerment Center and the signature program, Save Our Sons. The RBC has been a supporter of the program since its inception. President McMillan, on behalf of our members, I want to give you an additional gift of $150,000 for the continued support of Save Our Sons.
If anyone else feels excited, we can add you to the program. You heard me mention the fact that we have 4 partners in the building. We co-own this facility with the Salvation Army, but we also have partnerships from 2 other organizations that we are proud to have with us. I want to bring Lynette Watson from the University of Missouri Extension, because they are going to be providing programming here on entrepreneurship and teaching people how to own businesses, expand businesses, and become self-sufficient, and we are grateful for their participation. Thank you.
It's even more unfair coming after somebody who gives $150,000. Anyway, this is a really exciting day for me. Seeing something so tragic turn into something like this is absolutely amazing. It means a great deal to me for a couple of reasons. First, because I grew up not far from here. And secondly, because I'm the mother of 3 boys. There's still work to be done, and the work will be done here. On behalf of the University of Missouri Extension and the Small Business and Technology Development Centers, we are honored to be here. They didn't have to pick us, and they did. We certainly hope that the reason they selected us is because we came, as soon as Ferguson happened, we were boots on the ground. We saw a lot of things while we were out there. One was the businesses, many of the businesses were already struggling. So add the Ferguson riots to it, it was devastating. So we said, how can we be more proactive in the future? The next thing is I went around trying to find mentors for these businesses, just somebody for them to talk to. One thing we realized was there were no business owners, no mentors that were readily available that looked like us. Sometimes you just want to talk to somebody that looks like you. As a result, we created the Looks Like Me Mentor Project, and we're very, very glad to be bringing that to the center here. One of the other things that we noticed was business owners weren't looking for support because they didn't think it was available. So being in the neighborhood, we have locations everywhere but North County, shame on us. This gives us entry into the North County landscape, so we're very, very grateful to you, Michael, for having us. And lastly, we are so excited to bring all the things that we will bring. We not only consult with small businesses that are in the startup phase, we are also great at triaging you when you're in trouble, and we're dangerous enough to know when it's bigger than us and we need to refer you on. We have a great amount of business resource partners, and we're also starting to work with corporations to prepare you for the opportunities that exist for them. It's one thing to start a business, but you cannot thrive if you don't have opportunities. So that is one of the things. Right now we're working with Equifax to create a supplier diversity program. And we anticipate doing that with other organizations, and we will be bringing them with us to Ferguson. Very quickly, I want to say a quick shout out to my Uncle David, who actually showed us what business ownership was about. And he makes my job so much easier as I go out and consult with people, or maybe harder, because everybody thinks they're going to have a billion-dollar company. So, but that does show us that we can do this. And guys, we can do this. It is time for us to own our own. It is doable. It takes some hard work. It takes some sacrifice. It takes some suffering. But we got you. We're looking forward to working with you. All right.
Thank you, Lynette. Boy, aren't we all jealous of Lynette? Wouldn't you all love to have an Uncle David Stewart? Wouldn't it be nice? Wouldn't it be nice? So, our next speaker is Reverend Micah Glenn, representing the Lutheran Hope Center. And the Lutheran Church immediately came to us as well and said, we want to be in the building. We want to be a part of progress. We want to help move this community forward. And we said, absolutely. And that's why the building grew 3 times from its originally discussed size, because of our partners. And we're very grateful for them. Please give him a round of applause as he comes.
Good morning. When I graduated from Lutheran North back in 2002, just around the corner, I never would have imagined that in 2017 I'd be a part of something historic like this. Something so great and something so powerful in the community that I grew up in. The community that molded me and helped forge me into the young man that I am today. And people keep asking me what this day means to me and how it feels to be a part of it. And the closest thing I can think of is when I first held my son almost 4 years ago, and I looked down at that young body, and the responsibility quickly came to mind that I was responsible for his well-being, for his care, for his nurture, to show him what love is, to show him what it means to be a man, especially in the world today, and to set him up for a positive and strong future. And today, that same responsibility is in my heart, that I can give just an ounce of anything back to the community, this great place in America, Ferguson, with a great core of young people. The words of Psalm 46 come to me, "Be still and know that I am God." And when that overwhelming responsibility hit my heart when I held my son and I cried, both tears of joy and both tears of fear, those words held me still. First and foremost, that I knew that I wasn't doing this alone. And so today I stand with the Urban League, with Salvation Army, and the University of Missouri, that today is a bright day of hope for our community. Our young people are great. A young man by the name of Marcus Stewart has been with me multiple days since I've been here for the last year, helping me prepare for our Readers to Leaders program, where we'll reach out to our elementary schools to walk alongside them, to help boost the literacy in our community that is really holding us down. And so I just want to thank my board of directors, to thank the executives of Lutheran Church Missouri Synod, thank everybody for coming, and especially thank you, Mike, for letting me be a part of this day. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Reverend and Lynette. So we would now like to honor and acknowledge all of the capital campaign donors for this building. The building is completely paid for. We are proud of the fact there is no note, there is no debt. It is completely paid for. We don't have to have a pastor's anniversary dinner, and we don't have to burn the mortgage. This is it. But it wouldn't have happened without these people. So I would like these individuals to please come up for a group photo representing all of the various companies. Quick Trip is the first company that made this entire process possible. And so this would not have happened without their leadership, involvement, and participation. So I would like to ask Robert Smith and Dan Valenti to please come from the Quick Trip Corporation. County Executive Steve Stinger, who infused $1 million of tax credits into this project. Sheila Sweeney and Rodney Krim of the Regional Economic Development Partnership. Michael Neidorf, Chairman, President, and CEO of Centene Corporation. Frankie Eichenberger and Larry Otto of U.S. Bank. Joseph Hernandez of TIAA. Tom Irwin of Civic Progress. Kathy Reeves of Enterprise. David Farr of Emerson. Warner Baxter of Ameren. Kathy Osborne of the Regional Business Council. Emily Pitts of Edward Jones. Nancy Seamer of Starbucks. Amelia Bond of the St. Louis Community Foundation. Claudine Brooks of Altria. Al Mitchell of Monsanto. Alan Ivey of Reliance Bank, who not only contributed but provided financing for the project and also has a full-service ATM in the building. Chuck Miller from Macy's. Richard Davis from the Davis Family Foundation. My own mother, Rita McMillan, who contributed to this building as well, who I must acknowledge. You heard it was my birthday, and she will tell you if you ask, she was in labor for 3 days. So this is the 46th anniversary of her 3-day labor experience. Johnny and Minga Furr and Howard and Donna Smith. Please come forward and take this historic picture.
Can we get everybody to come together, please? Can we come together a little bit more? Even if some people have to stand in front of here? I'm pretty sure.
No, you don't.
Even if you gotta stand close here, please?
So each one of our donors will receive a plaque like this.
Kind of straddle, don't stand right in front of each other.
As a token. We are also joined by the personal assistant to Dr. Martin Luther King, Sir Nona Clayton. Mary Wilson of the Supremes. Melba Moore, Ray Goodman and Brown, Judge Hatchett, Chris Curry, Richard Gant, celebrities from all over the this to the people of Ferguson, to St. Louis, and healing this nation.
Come on, man.